So I will go ahead and get started. The reason I wanted to talk with you today is to get a little bit of advice for homeowners in the spring. So for those of you who haven't heard of or met Troy from Bugout, I will let him introduce himself really quickly, and then we have a couple questions for you.
Awesome. So I'm Troy with Bugout. We've been in business now since 1988. So we're still out here killing every day. So can't wait, I got a killer job. So it's if it walks, crawls, or flies, we've got a license to get it. So you don't have to worry about it. So anything that you need eradicated or controlled around your home or business, we're there.
Okay, cool. And what are the areas where you guys serve?
We service Baltimore, Howard, and Anne Arundel, and Bowie.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about today specifically relates to kind of spring, summer home maintenance. One of the tips we put in our newsletter this past month was about going down into your crawl space. And we're used to thinking of going to the crawl space to check for moisture, but not necessarily for things that crawl. So I wanted to see what in particular you think people should be looking out for, or advice about kind of what to do down there.
Gotcha. So with a crawl space, it's important to always keep it clean. So if you have a crawl space with a lot of debris, that's a harboring area for insects, spiders, mice, and snakes. So there's a lot of things that can hang out. So interesting about it, I was in a crawl space the other day, and I was doing up in the rafters doing a termite inspection. Lo and behold, there's a 6-foot black snake coiled in the cleaner. But it's okay, I left them alone. But snakes are usually entering in a home because there's a food source available. So if you have a snake issue, chances are you have a mouse issue, which we can come into control and help you with. We can also do snake control as well. So spiders are the main issues in crawl spaces.
Okay. And if you have a spider issue, does that mean you have another issue?
Not always. Generally, spiders, if you have a moisture situation, which if you have a crawl, you definitely want to put plastic down on the ground. Okay. That helps keep the moisture barrier. It's called a moisture barrier. It keeps the moisture below that barrier. This way, it keeps moisture from getting into your insulation and also letting cold into the winter. When you have a cold floor in a crawl space, one of two things are happening. Either it's not acclimated or sealed, or it's not insulated. Yeah. So trying to keep that clean, keep the floors clean. So this way, if you have to get under there for a pipe, you're not crawling across and, start cutting yourself on something sharp, nailing in a nail on a 2x4. And we see a lot of that.
Okay. All right.
Bugs are creeping you out, aren't they? You're like, no.
Well, so it's like a total conflict, because I always tell, especially home sellers, I'm like, before you list your house, you need to go down in that crawl space and find out what's going on in there. And it's amazing how many people never go down there. But at the same time, I think of my parents' crawl space, and I have horrible flashbacks to not necessarily snake, but snake skin, and me being the kid who was given the job of installing the vapor barrier, and so just kind of a big so
the other thing to kind of keep an eye out for to help keep your house pest free is keep your shrubbery trimmed around the property. Thick shrubbery holds shade and moisture. Insects like moisture, as we need water as well for our living. So the more shade and moisture you have to help supply the insects, the more growth and more population of insects you're going to have.
Okay.
This also goes into play when you get into the crawl space, because it's not keeping that wall damp, and wet. Okay. So make sure ventilation is a key in a crawl space. You must have ventilation. If you don't have ventilation, you would have an acclimated crawl space, which is all sealed walls and floors. Would be sealed, and generally there's a dehumidifier in the crawl space as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. And a lot of people don't have that, but it is good if you can afford to do that, because it just acclimates that area to keep pests down.
Okay. All right. So kind of pay attention to try to control the environment down there and keep it clean.
Absolutely. Clean as possible.
You bring up another, I'll do a little sidebar question because you brought up something else that I think is maybe a good question. This is also the time of year when we're all mulching and planting and doing all that stuff. Talk about things being up against the house.
Move it. Do not put anything against the foundation. That again is going to hold that moisture there. So you want to keep your bushes about 18 inches at minimum away from your walls. Now, some people plant hedgerows and they just get wild and they're growing up under the windows. So that's not good because that creates an area for ants to walk up the branches and get into the house and the nice wet spots around the corners of those windows. So then they get happy, they're comfortable, they're not leaving. And then you got me. I'm in there.
All right. So you bring me to my next question, which is little bugs. This is the time of year when the ants come back and the other little things. How on earth do we handle the ant situation?
Well, ant, again, moisture. So try to get all your rain gutters away from the house, all your rain spouts away. Keep your mulch thin. Do not over mulch because when the mulch compiles over time, it holds heat. Therefore, the insects are attracted to that and can live in there. Ants love mulch. So keeping the mulch thin, not over mulching is always a key. You're not going to stop Mother Nature. She's here. I'm just here to help you guys keep them out of your house. But, you know, we can do a good job at that. But we're always going to deal with it. This time of year,
we got to work together.
Correct. This time of year, termites are a problem. So if you're out mulching, if you're gardening and you're digging in your mulch and you find these white little bugs, you think they're white ants or ant eggs. If they got legs, they're not eggs. Okay, so they don't have legs. But so you got to look at that. A lot of people think termites are eggs or white ants. There's not a white ant out there. It would definitely be a subterranean termite. Swarming is a big issue now today. I was just in a house in Glen Burnie just before this interview, and a lady had swarming in her kitchen. I went to the attic, it was all the way up to her roof. So they did go 40 feet, you know, from the ground up, and they are active, and they were swarming out of the roof vent. So this
like
is
out of the vent into the kitchen air, flying
into the exterior air on the outside roof gable vent. So it, you know, the actual gable vent on a house, the window, the square vent, they were flying out of that vent. As I went into the attic to inspect, as I do for real estate, this is why we do this, because we may not see nothing coming up the walls, which I did not. Got into the attic and there were tunnels eating up into the 2x4s and into the roof trusses. So she had a water leak as well. So therefore that promoted the termites to follow that moisture.
Oh boy.
Love my job.
Okay. And so thinking preventatively, is that something that would be part of an annual inspection if you had had that done? Yes,
an annual inspection more so is encompassing around the perimeter and the interior basement sections and first floor. Again, any customer that's under contract with us calls at any time if they have a concern or suspicion. That's what we're here for. I want to know before it becomes an issue. Therefore, always an inspection is key. Yes, a first inspection should be very intense. It should be very focused. The following inspections after treatment is placed, termites start in the ground and they work their way up. So we know that ground contact is always going to be play for termites.
The biggest
here in Menlo.
Okay. All right. So tell me about big critters. When we hear things walking around in the attic, we don't know what it might be.
That's bad. So we've been doing a lot of raccoons, squirrels here lately. So our traps have all been out on jobs. Raccoons, baby raccoons, had pull babies out of attics. You know, mama trapping. It's hard to catch. Mama's hard to catch sometimes because she's very protective of her pups. So therefore, once we catch mama, now we have to search for the babies. Once we find the babies, we have to remove the babies as well. Or, you know, they may not survive in the attic. Squirrels, same thing. They'll chew their way in. Raccoons will actually pull your vents and siding apart and go in. So a lot of people don't realize what the whole, you know, why someone's pulling my siding apart. But they're opportunistic. They're like us. They like a nice warm place and, you know, to lay down. Now, raccoons, they're funny because you won't always see them in the house because they'll go to different properties and then they may come back to your property. So, squirrels, different story. They're going to keep coming and going all day. Where raccoons can move over to another house somewhere else and then come back later. So raccoon trapping can be kind of tedious sometimes if they're not directly in the property.
Okay, so a raccoon, I could tell if something like that was happening because I would have sort of siding being pulled apart or something else. Where are the squirrels generally getting in?
Squirrels will come into those roof vents as well, but primarily squirrels will come in under your guttering. So where your gutters attached to your fascia board, they'll chew right underneath of your shingles and out into the gutter. They'll actually chew a oval hole and pop right into the soffits.
Fabulous.
Then, squirrels, I've seen them chew right through the side of a house.
But if I'm doing just sort of a walk around of my own house and I look up at the soffit, will I be able to see something like that, or is it so small I can't see it?
A lot of times you have to be on a ladder because the roof goes into your guttering, so the water will run off into your gutter. You can't see that from the ground in a lot of places.
Oh, you got to be up under. Okay.
Right. So sit in the gutter cavity and chew a hole and go right up under the shingle.
Awesome. Fabulous. So, is there anything you can do to prevent that?
Sealing it up tighter. A lot of times when homes are built, there's a 1/4 of an inch, maybe an inch gap between the roof shingle and the actual fascia board, which is what your gutter mounts to. So there's already a hole there. So when a squirrel's in there, he can smell the air coming out, or she, and then say, what's this? And start chewing, and they find their way in and go, nice bit of insulation.
Okay.
Mice can get in the same way. They can come right up the gutter and go into your attic.
Wonderful.
Gotta love nature.
Right? Okay, so you've given us kind of some good general spring tips, right? Keep shrubbery away from your house. Don't over mulch. Check on your crawl space. If you're up there cleaning out the gutters, do kind of a visual inspection up there. Anything else that should just be on a general homeowner spring, summer?
Rotted wood around doorways and windows, especially ground level contact. Termites are a big problem with that. Carpenter ants are opportunistic too, but they generally like all moisture to kind of be in an area where your termites always check your base doors of your garage frames, your front door kick plates, that piece of wood that's on the base before you step into the front door. A lot of people replace all this thinking it's simply rot and it's actually termites, not knowing the difference. So always have that checked, consult a professional, and make sure you're safe before you put everything back together if you have a suspicion.
And what you're talking about when you say garage is if you have, say you have a 2-car garage with a separator in the middle, those beams that come down in the middle are where, at least in the inspections you and I have done, where it's very common to find a little bit of termite damage. And we never look there. Even when we clean the garage, we never look there. So not a bad place to look. Okay, 2 more questions and then we're done. First of all, talk to me about carpenter bees.
Okay.
Is there anything you can do to stop them?
We can't stop them, but we can treat them. Now, the only way you're going to stop carpenter bees from attacking your house is to wrap it in metal or put plastic wood in. So when I say wrap in metal, no wooden fascia boards because they bore right into the wooden fascia board. A carpenter bee is an interesting insect because they go in a 1/2 of an inch, they bore a right angle, and they go 10 centimeters deep, and they pack that full of eggs. So in a carpenter bee inspection, we may not see the bee right there, but there could be eggs all inside that galley. So those eggs will hatch. They will hatch in the spring and they will hatch in the fall, same as they're laid in the spring and the fall. So the 2 types a year, they lay them in the fall, they'll hatch in the spring. Spring, they'll hatch in the fall. So with a carpenter bee, they're not always active. Now is an active time for carpenter bees.
Okay.
I'm seeing them gone crazy. But you got to remember, there could be 10 eggs inside that channel. Now, they will reinfest in the same area. Some will take off. Some will reinfest in the same area, come back into the galleys and make them even deeper. So if you ever looked at a roof line, you see a lot of little holes across the wood. That's the carpenter bees chewing the babies after they hatch. They pupate it, and now they chew right out the side of the board.
Okay. All right. But the little pinholes are kind of the giveaway.
They're 1/2 inch round holes. Looks just like a drill. Went right into it.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Okay. So, I got to ask, because this is everyone's favorite thing to read that you do on Facebook. Tell us about one of your good adventures lately. Something you had to track down.
Snakes are probably the worst adventure. I mean, I don't know about good, but because you never know, because it's the element of surprise. They're quiet. So just basically pulling insulation back and making sure you're not the attack. Because snakes in defense will go ahead and come at you if you're in their space. Most of them would leave you alone, but when you're looking for them and you're face to face, you gotta be a little more careful.
Right.
So I had to jump back. Had to jump back this year a couple times. Big old snake come out at me, fangs at me. Whoa! But that's probably the most adventurous. Everything else is pretty simple. Bats.
Okay.
Bats in an attic's nothing. Squirrels, raccoons, that's all piece of cake.
How do you get a bat out?
You have to exclude for bats, and then this time of year, all the way into the end of August, is we cannot exclude. We have to put an exit up so the bats leave on their own. This way, they're not leaving the young behind. So we cannot kill bats. We have to allow them to leave. So there is no extermination of the bat. We allow them to move on their own way, and then we seal up the accesses that they have made to get in. Generally, that's an eave of a house or behind a rake board toward the top side of the house.
Okay. And you can't kill them?
No. They're protected.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Good to know.
That's why we can't close off the house with them.
All right. Well, Troy, thank you for spending some time with us. I think this is really helpful to people, and I hope everybody's able to take away a couple good tips. And we'll put your information so people know where to find you if they need you or have other questions.
Excellent. And if anyone needs any help, Bugout, Termite, Pest Control in Glen Burnie, we're here. We'll knock them out.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Have a great day.
You too.